Hello and welcome back to the SkoodSports Show here on SkoodSports. I am John Skoudris. It's a lovely Wednesday here in Boston, Massachusetts. Sunny, warm, and here I am indoors, bringing you all the sports that fit in to one video. Today I'm sporting my circa 2003, the three-headed monster running back of the Philadelphia Eagles, Correll Buckhalter jersey. Still got it. Found it when cleaning out the garage earlier this year. Gotta love it. Still rocking. I still remember wearing it for the first time. I believe it was the first year ever at Citizens Bank Park in 2004. I wore it, and some 16-year-old kid who was a couple years older than me was just like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. Ever since, I thought it was awesome. Anyway, we are going to talk a little NFL today, as they did come out of the owners' meetings today stating that they would have new policy regarding the national anthem. I will give my 2 cents on that in a bit. But first, we start out with last night's Western Conference Finals Game 4. A game that going in, most people thought that the Golden State Warriors would continue their dominance at home over James Harden, Chris Paul, and the Rockets. But the fourth quarter would tell a different tale. Let's take a look at highlights of the Rockets' miracle comeback en route to tying the series.
He's off. Is 8 for 20 to this point. Paul with that hesitation move and scored. Oh, another impossible shot. Chris Paul knocks down a three-point ball. Played by Curry to the left-hand corner. Ariza for three. How about that pass? Harden on the drive. Harden scores.
Let him get back.
A green got picked off by Gordon. Here's Gordon for three. A huge shot by Eric Gordon. 10 on the shot clock. Harden played by Thompson. 5 on the shot clock. Harden played by Curry. Goes to the step back. Came up short. Rebound Green. Durant moves it across. Final seconds. Here's Thompson for the tie. Tucker.
Special thanks to Dawkins MTA on Twitter for the highlights of Game 4 and most of the NBA highlights that we put on the SkoodSports Show. The NBA is really the only sport which you can put live video highlights because they're the only one who won't block it for copyright abuse. And so thank you, Adam Silver, for allowing us to put a little flair into the SkoodSports Show. Now, going back to Game 4, I mean, what a performance in the fourth quarter after a huge third-quarter surge by the Warriors put them in the driver's seat against the Rockets. The tables really turned, and the pendulum swung back towards Houston to even up the series 2-2. As you saw in that video, Chris Paul was absolutely huge. He had a big performance in that fourth quarter. James Harden also contributing, and Trevor Ariza, who would have thought he'd be a key contributor in a fourth quarter comeback for the Rockets as well. Ariza last made, big noise in the playoffs years back when he was a Los Angeles Laker during their runs with Kobe and Pau Gasol. And now here he is getting the job done to even the series up at 2 as we head back to Houston. So best of 3 series in both the East and the West. And while everybody has been ripping the NBA for not being competitive, for every game being a blowout, the series themselves have been competitive here so far in the conference finals, with both coming down now to the final 3 games of each. Tonight it'll be the Eastern Conference Finals Game 5, and an opportunity for LeBron James and company to take a game on the road, which they'll have to do if they're going to win this series and move on to the NBA Finals again. But when you look at it, it's going to be tough for them going up against the Boston Celtics. Keys to that one, obviously, LeBron had over 40 points in Game 4 as the Cavs even things up. Take a look at his performance right here in the fourth quarter.
Here goes James. Inside, banks it home.
LeBron James pushing, Tatum avoiding, James finished.
James behind the back. Throws it up, pass deflected. Stolen back by James, and he banks it home as he barrels into Marcus Smart.
Off the careless play. That's bad basketball, but oops, look what I found. Gets the steal in the basket. I call that a smart play.
James holding, finds George Hill.
Hill using a screen. The floater in the paint is good. George Hill with 13.
So the King, LeBron James, getting the job done again in Game 4 as he leads the Cavaliers to a 2-2 series tie with the Celtics. Game 5 tonight from Boston as the Celtics and the Cavaliers will look to take advantage and take that important 3-2 series lead. Now, of course, Game 5 is in Boston, Game 6 in Cleveland, Game 7 back at the Garden in Boston. So the Celtics have the home court advantage. Will that end up paying off? Well, it has so far through the first 4 games, with both teams winning each game at home. Key to the game for the Cavaliers tonight is going to be continued success of LeBron James and the continued success of Kevin Love with regards to finding outlet passes to LeBron. Those are almost undefendable when you have the size, speed, and strength of LeBron James and the precision passing of Kevin Love. I honestly believe if Kevin Love had practiced hard enough, he'd be able to be a pretty good quarterback, maybe at a collegiate level, not necessarily an NFL level, but definitely has the precision and the accuracy to do so. And for the Celtics, it's going to be about finding a way to avoid mismatches. They've done a pretty good job in the first 2 rounds of doing that because they have such solid defenders at every position. That's why they are so good so far without Kyrie Irving, Gordon Hayward, etc., and why they have such good depth is because they're good defenders. The problem is when you have a LeBron James who starts backing down players like Terry Rozier, you're gonna run into issues because LeBron is so good at the post game, but he's also so good distributing the basketball that it creates an incredible mismatch not just with regards to Rozier on LeBron, but also with the speed issues that the Celtics may have with covering players like Kyle Korver and George Hill in the backcourt. So, if you ask me right now, I think the Boston Celtics still do win Game 5. I think they're going to win the series in 7 games, as I predicted last week, but I think that the Cleveland Cavaliers now have a renewed sense of confidence, and that is not good news if you're a Boston Celtics fan. As for the Western Conference Finals, now 2-2 heading back to Houston, I still like Golden State to win that series. In fact, I like them pretty resoundingly to win Game 5 in Houston and then win Game 6 at home. I think Golden State's one of those teams where they start to read their own press clippings. They've been so good for so long that maybe they can take a game like this lightly. They were up heading into the 4th quarter and they choked that away because they allowed Chris Paul and company to get back in the game with poor defense. I don't think that's going to happen in Game 6. Which has me in Game 5, and I don't think it's going to happen in Game 6. So I'm still taking the Warriors and the Celtics, but obviously things right now are very much up for grabs in both series. Last thing I'd like to talk about here on the SkoodSports show on Wednesday afternoon here is going to be about the NFL's new policy regarding the national anthem. Today, the NFL owners, after their owners' meetings, have voted and agreed upon new policy towards the national anthem. This in rebuttal to what has been a very vocal, I believe, minority of people who have a problem with the players kneeling for the national anthem. The NFL will now fine players who do not stand for the national anthem. Players, however, are allowed to stay in the locker room until the anthem is finished if they do not wish to partake in the event. But if you go out onto the field, you kneel, you do anything else, you will be fined. Now, a couple of points on this. First of all, background on this. This is all, of course, due to the fact that Colin Kaepernick and other San Francisco 49ers a couple of years ago began sitting down for the national anthem in protest of African Americans and the way they had been treated by the police force and the government over the last, well, let's face it, couple hundred years of American culture. In response to this, Kaepernick had been told by the military and by those in the military that it was disrespectful to sit down for the national anthem and it would be more respectful to kneel for the national anthem. And so Kaepernick and his other brethren out there in San Francisco and eventually throughout the league began to kneel for the national anthem. And then people had a problem with that. Last year, those who didn't want to kneel for the national anthem raised a fist in support of African American pride. And people had a problem with that. The fact of the matter is that if you have a problem with players sitting for the national anthem, kneeling for the national anthem, even holding a fist up during the national anthem, then you have to have a problem with the fact that vendors are still serving food and beer during the national anthem. The concession stands are still working during the national anthem. They're not observing it. There are many people in the stands who are burping, drinking, scratching their behinds, yada, yada, yada during the national anthem. But yet, you don't have a problem with that. You have a problem with these players doing something that you don't like. And a lot of this has been instigated by the man who is sitting in the Oval Office, who has instigated this in order to create divisiveness and keep his base on his side and in his corner while he continues to eradicate American culture and cultural and political norms. So this is just the act of a madman, but unfortunately today, the NFL kowtowed to a madman, and they allowed a very vocal and idiotic minority to determine the future of their league, all because of the fear that they would lose the almighty dollar. Keep in mind, the NFL is still the most financially lucrative of the four major sports in the United States, and despite the lack of, or the loss of, viewership last year, they're still among the most viewed events in America. The Super Bowl itself, which included a lot of players who protested the national anthem, mind you, on the Philadelphia Eagles, well, that had one of the highest viewerships in the history of the world. And yet here we are, a few months later, allowing the idiocy and the closed-mindedness to get in the way. Keep in mind that the NFL is paid by the U.S. military to play the national anthem. They're paid by the U.S. military to do the military observance month and all the things that they do. Cha-ching, that's what it's all about. It has nothing to do with respecting the flag. It has nothing to do with respecting the troops. What the heck does the national anthem have to do with the troops anyway? Fact of the matter is, you're respecting the troops more by exercising your right to free speech and peaceful protest. It's the idiots who think that kneeling for a flag, kneeling for a song, is somehow disrespectful to the troops. The fact of the matter is, the same people who say that kneeling for the flag is disrespectful are the same people who wear the American flag on their shirt, or wear a thong on the American flag, or let the American flag rip through the wind to get torn when they put it on the side of their cars. They hide behind their faux patriotism because they are scared of what the reality is. And so that's the joke of it all, is that here we have a multi-billion-dollar industry who is tax exempt, by the way, getting paid by the U.S. government and military to play the national anthem and to, kowtow to the military-industrial complex. And here they are now, doing it again. Congratulations, Roger Goodell. New Englanders were right. You are indeed a clown. Next time on the SkoodSports Show, we're going to take a look at the Eastern Conference Finals Game 4, see who ended up winning that one, give you a recap of that, as well as take a look at the Philadelphia Flyers and what the next step is for them as they move into the NHL draft, where they do own 2 first-round picks, and the NHL's off-season. Until then, good night and good luck. I'm John Scoudress. We'll see you next time right here on SkoodSports.